Viewers, you're welcome once again to Matters Arising, the flagship talk show of Kaftan TV, coming to you live from the Abuja studio of Kaftan Television. And of course, you know that Matters Arising is the show that focuses on in-depth analysis of trending national and international topics by our team of in-house seasoned broadcast journalists. My name is Dayo Amogun.
And welcome. My name is Michael Gobadia. It's another time for us to talk about the issues.
My name is Ekaite Idot. Good evening.
All right, as you already know, for many of you, and just in case there are new persons who are definitely adding to us every day, we'd like you to remember or to note that on this show is designed to be conversational, to be engaging and incisive. And so it's expected, a very crucial part of this program is for you to participate. And how do you participate? By your phone calls to weigh in, so we can have your own perspectives on the topic that is on the table per time. And on this edition, what are we talking about? What should we be talking about? If you had to suggest to us what would we be talking about at a time like this, definitely nothing else but the death and laying to rest of our former head of state of Nigeria and former president of Nigeria. I mean, he's one of the two persons who holds those two titles together. And I'm talking, of course, you know, I'm talking about President Muhammadu Buhari, the Daura-born general, who was to become military head of state, and also scored a double by coming into power as president, civilian president, in 2015 and doing 2 terms and ending in 2023. He just died a few days back at the age of 82. And so this edition of the program, we want to look at what exactly are the lessons that we can deduce, that we can learn from his life as a leader, whether as military head of state, whether as a petroleum minister. I mean, he's been through the entire gamut. I mean, officer of the military, head of PTF, if you remember.
Yes.
Yeah, he was head of PTF,
Abacha's
era, Abacha, and then also he was a petroleum minister, and that was under the Obasanjo regime. And then you also had him as as head of state, and also as president. I mean, under his regime, there are so many things that are easily associated with him. For example, WAI stands for WAI stands for War Against Indiscipline. That's something that anybody who is above 40 or thereabouts, 45, will remember clearly in the days when he came first as military head of state. And they tried to whip some sense into Nigerians to do things more orderly and to be a lot more, ship-shape, do things correctly. I mean, run away from things like lateness to office and all kinds of things. And of course, Nigerians were going in the right direction, even though there were excesses also. And beyond that, we also know that he took the war against drug trafficking very seriously, to the point where people were shot. I mean, they faced the gun officially for being involved in drug trafficking. And then, but there was a little catch that didn't go down well with that law, because it was a law that was retroactive. And you know, retroactive laws are bad laws all over the world, because it tends to look as if it is targeting some certain people. And when laws target people, it becomes it loses some of the principles that guide the formation of laws. And so these are some of the things that have to do with his first coming when he came as head of state. Again, he was swept away in a palace coup on 17th, right? 17th August 1985 by Babangida and his cohorts. And so maybe I leave it there. I'm sure that my panelists want to also bring some part of the history, and then we can go on to the lessons.
Well, Dayo, you've said a great deal, especially as it concerns our late former president, and my heart goes out to the family. I'm from an African setting, and we always would say it's regrettable we lost anyone,
right,
whether in old age or whether the person is young. You've just given us a reel of how his tenure or time has been, both as a military head of state from 1983 to 85, and coming back again many years after, 2015 to 2023. And many will say it's more like a misreaction if you look at how he has fared, especially as it concerns being a military head of state and that of a civilian president that he became in 2015 to 2023. But one thing that will stand out most, and many will also would agree, is his style of leadership. If you look at his style of leadership, when he was a military head of state, you talked about war against indiscipline and how many Nigerians loved that. On the mining, many would say it was hard in his implementation, and also, but many Nigerians, especially at that time, needed some sense of responsibility, and many felt that was what he brought on board. And I felt it also was the main reason many Nigerians also voted him in 2015 to 2023. And many felt that, yes, the coming back of that general will bring a general sense of things, especially during that low ebb of when former President Goodluck Jonathan was really running. Many people will say he was running things to the ground, especially as it concerns corruption. And not only that, I could still remember during that same era of Jonathan, in 2015, we had about 15 local governments in Borno, Yobe, and Andama under the control of Boko Haram. And everybody felt the coming of Buhari would change all of that. So when you look at corruption and insecurity, many felt that that was the reason many Nigerians voted him into power. So you can never take away that from him. And did he fulfill on that? That's another question. And the question I feel we really look at, especially here. Eventually. But irrespective, whether you love to hate him or you hate to love him, there's a long history of what we gained and lost under his time.
Correct.
And maybe while this discussion is ongoing, we'll definitely be looking at all of that.
Sure, yes.
Well, I will start by sending my condolences to Buhari's immediate family and then to all Nigerians out there. Well, for me, like you said, whether anybody likes to, whatever is put out there, whatever some persons might try to believe. For me, I think President Muhammadu Buhari had contributed immensely to the development of Nigeria, especially to where we are today. Because he had two chances. The first was as a military general. Like even as kids then, we grew up hearing the word war against indiscipline. That is one unique thing that can never be taken away from President Muhammadu Buhari, because he gave birth to that initiative. And that's really brought at that point in time from history we've read that really had a lot to do with discipline in terms of the behaviors of Nigerians. And that also was one of the things that gave room for his second coming as the president as a civilian president. President Muhammadu Buhari had contributed immensely, whether we like it or not, especially from the angle of infrastructure. You know, he did some of the gigantic infrastructural programs, infrastructural structures that he did then. Like, for instance, the construction of Lagos Ibadan rail line. That was one project that is attributed to his name. The construction of Abuja Kaduna rail line, and then the construction of Itakpe. Those were some of his projects. And then if you move on to mention like some of the programs he did, like the fight against corruption. Well, he tried his best, especially in terms of his body language, though some sectors, some quarter feel probably he didn't do it well. But in all, for me, I think he did what he could do at that time.
All right, the point that is not lost on many Nigerians is the fact that much more was expected of General or former General, ex-General Muhammadu Buhari than he delivered. Yeah. The hope, like Michael alluded to, the hope that at least a general was coming on board who had been a part of the Civil War and all that. I mean, not just a textbook general, someone who had been hands-on in the war field, in the battlefield, that it was going to make a difference with all the dissidents and all the bandits and all the, what is this now, Boko Haram, people. That hope got dashed because rather than curb them, in actual fact, that was one of the 3-point agenda that is sold to the people. To Nigerians. That also caused a whole lot of people to migrate from their love of the PDP or of Jonathan to Buhari. Yes. In any case, it's important to remember that the situation was so bad. You mentioned some local governments, whether 14 or so, that were under the control of these Boko Haram people, and that was enough for people to entirely condemn and dump Jonathan. That was a major plank. Now, so the expectation, and in fact what was said, if I remember correctly, I hope that this is quotable, that he said in 3 months there will be a clear.
He said 6 months.
3 months first. 3 months, and then we saw that 3 months went by. Except if we're saying that 3 months has not yet expired. We saw that 3 months went by, 6 months went by, years went by. And then, in fact, by the time he left, all those vices had been democratized, which means in every corner of the country, everybody had a piece of the cake. Whatever kind of cake that was it. Non-state actors were freely moving around, and in actual fact, the one that hurts the most, and I'm still talking only on insecurity, is the fact that the government tended to justify, quote and unquote, subtly, covertly, tended to justify some of these things. You had people like there's this sheikh popular that in Kaduna who will come out and justify banditry. And one would have thought that if somebody could do that and you saw him hobnobbing with them, you would have thought that such a person would be taken into custody for questioning. Yes. But no, he had a field day. He was meeting with them. He was even using them to tend to do all kinds of propaganda, negative this thing. And then it was still under his regime that we had a lot case of the repatriation, rehabilitation of Boko Haram has been alleged. At a point when these same people had caused mayhem, had caused people to lose their lives, breadwinners, had caused families to lose their breadwinners, had caused people to lose their limbs. And then you see the people who caused this pain, who caused this agony, being rehabilitated by taxpayers' money. Those are some of the things that a lot of Nigerians may not be able to forgive. Luckily, he has asked for forgiveness, but the truth is that I think that Nigerians, Africans are really changing, because if you see social media and how he has been castigated, is not in the normal run of the African traditional setting where we say never speak ill
of the dead.
So let me. I just touched insecurity.
Dario, you're not far from the truth, especially as it concerns what he promised and what he delivered.
And what was
especially you talked about insecurity, and let's remain there. Now he told us that very day of his inauguration in 2015 that under 3 months' time, Boko Haram will be a thing of the past.
Exactly.
And funny enough, he even relocated the defense
chief
architecture, all of them. He relocated them to Borno during that very inauguration speech. And many, Nigerians, as usual, were going through a whole lot during that era.
Yeah.
With insecurity, we even had to have persons come from abroad to help us out to deal with the issues. And you did not even mention the series of bombing that was taking place in Abuja and other
everywhere
northern cities cut across the country.
Yeah.
But now let's look at it. You gave us that promise of 3 months. I'll be frank and honest. Yes, in the initial stage, he dealt a heavy blow to Boko Haram. We have to be frank with that. But was he able to sustain it was another question. When he left office, okay, let me just say this. In 2021, it was said that 3 of the deadliest, out of the 5 deadliest terrorist group in the world, 3 were in Nigeria. Boko Haram, ISWAP, and the headers. And not only that, when we also look at some of the major index, especially as it concerns insecurity, Nigeria was ranked 3rd most dangerous place to live in 2018. All because of his inability to deal with the issues. So he came in and said he would defeat Boko Haram. But when he left office, we were not just talking about Boko Haram, we're talking about banditry, we're talking about the East on Fire with IPOB, we're talking about kidnappings cut across every part of the country. Nobody mentioned the issue of herders and farmers that ranged on for a very long period of time. And many felt the reason all of these other non-state actors came into being was his inefficiency to deal with the issues. Exactly. And many persons felt, forgive my language, but I'm just being frank on it, that he was in a way ethnic in his play of things.
Exactly. That he
knowing that,
yes,
especially with the issues of the Fulani herders. Many felt he handled it with kid gloves. Would you believe we spent trillions in dealing with defense, and at the end, look at where we are. That's why I feel the present administration is also a bit not doing too well, because they will tell you they inherited a whole lot, which is true.
Yeah. But that's not the point. It's like what they did, what the APC did under Buhari.
Yes.
They kept referring to, it's the 16 years of PDP.
Yes.
It's the 16 years of PDP. No. See, as far as we're concerned, government is a continuum, and where you are, you're supposed to do better than yesterday.
Yes.
Else, there's no need for you to come on board. So, giving excuses that, things were really bad, that's not what we need. We need a situation. I mean, if you have a patient and a doctor was treating the person, and then another doctor is recommended, or another doctor actually says that bring this person to my hospital, to my facility, and I'll take care of him. And then you get there, and he says, the situation was very bad before you brought him. That's not an excuse. It won't fly.
Well, for me, I think in all this, before Buhari himself took over from the former president, Goodluck Jonathan, he had an interview, I think, with Al Jazeera, and one of the promises was that he was going to deal with the issue of insecurity. And 6 months after, the same Al Jazeera still had the opportunity to rub minds with President Muhammadu Buhari, and then what he said then was that really it has not been easy. What am I saying in essence is sometimes talking and criticizing sometimes could be very easy. Like then Buhari himself actually criticized, and then he wrote on the lapses of Jonathan then with the promise that he was going to address the issue of insecurity. And Nigerians, being the fact that he had been a military general, succumbed to those promises. But at the end of the day, I would say he tried his best, probably not good enough. And then the present administration also came with the same strategy, that they were going to deal with insecurity in Nigeria. And then the issue is still what we are still facing, and that is one of the reasons why our economy on daily basis is crumbling at the moment. So what am I trying to say in essence is that sometimes those things are easier said than done. But in all, for me, I think if we should deviate from the issue of insecurity, like I said earlier, he had equally played his own part in some aspects. Like the Nigerian Labour Congress released a statement yesterday, and what they said was that in 1983, his administration brought down a whole lot of workers. A whole lot of workers were retrenched then.
Retrenchment. My mother was affected. I remember clearly.
I had some family friends then. I was a little girl yet to start primary school, but I remember then some of our family friends were affected. They lost their jobs then, and you know that decision brought a whole lot of hardship. Then there was so much hardship. But when Buhari came in 2015, according to the statement of NLC, which NLC said that same Buhari made sure throughout his 8 years he tried to make some level of amendment, because no workers did not lose their job, even when we were faced by COVID-19 then, which a whole lot in some countries, a whole lot of workers were laid off. But President Muhammadu Buhari tried his best, making sure that no Nigerian worker was laid off. And for me, this is a kudos to him too. And then he still went on to giving out bailouts to governors, though most of these governors betrayed him. So Buhari, in his second term, in his second coming as a president of Nigeria, tried to make some level of amendments in some of the mistakes he made as a military governor, a military president, a military head of state then. So the issue of workers to him was he tried to play safe, and then he tried to make sure workers' welfare was paramount. Even the issue of 30,000 naira minimum wage, it was Buhari that came with that new minimum wage. So for me, I think we cannot totally say he didn't do well at all. But for me, at this point, I will stop here.
Well, Dayo, I don't know. I would strongly disagree with Nigerian Labour Congress, number one. And I would also want to disagree with the feeling that he did so much for Nigerian workers during his second coming as civilian head of state. And my reasons are these. Yes, you never laid anyone off. You increased the minimum wage from how low it was, 18,000 to 30,000. But the truth was, were Nigerians able to live with that 30,000? We understood, and we still understand, that even after he left government, 21 states of the federation were not paying the 30,000 naira. What did he do about it? I know the federal workers were enjoying a lot, but would it make a lot of sense that you did not retrench people, but the salaries they were being paid were not even taking them to the gates, rather than taking them home? You will understand that inflation under President Muhammadu Buhari grew from 8.7% in 2015 and rose up to 22.2% when he left office in 2023. Does that make any sense? Our GDP was put at $560 billion in 2015, but fell down to $490 billion in 2022 when he left office. Would we say he did a lot? Most of our foreign partners, foreign establishment companies left the shores of this great country, relocated to our neighbors, Ghana. Many of them left, and many persons were unemployed because of his failed policies. Is that not enough to put Nigerian workers under the bus?
Well, for the issue of 21 states not paying, like I said earlier, I think he gave on 2 occasions he gave bailout funds, which some of these governors did not still pay. I think it is time for Nigerians to begin to hold their governors accountable. For me, I don't think some governors believe they can't pay, just like what is happening in this present 70,000 naira minimum wage. Some governors still claim and pretend they can't afford that amount of money. I don't believe that. I think it is time for Nigeria, because the same thing like that is happening now is equally repeating itself, because the present government, the take home for each state is actually very, very huge. But these state governors still don't pay this 70,000 naira minimum wage. It's time for Nigerians to begin to hold their governors accountable in some matters.
Well, while Nigerians are getting ready to hold their governors accountable, let's go back right again and talk about a few other items. When Buhari came into power as civilian president, our debt profile, our debt status was about 12 trillion, if I remember.
Yes.
By the time he left with 91 or 97 trillion. 97 trillion. That's not that's a huge one. Now that's one. Now the Japa syndrome took flight. If it was crawling before in previous regimes, it took wings and flew.
And flew away.
I mean, you had people just living in droves. For the first time, old people began to also leave the country, because Japa in those days used to be for the young and upwardly mobile. But you saw a situation where 50-year-olds, 55-year-olds also began to relocate. I mean, that should be a way of also saying that things had gone too bad. Now, let's also talk about, because talking about corruption.
Yeah.
Well, in the early days, I remember that the ex-SGF, Babachir Lawal, was sacked because he was involved in some 200 million naira grass-cutting scam.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's about all that I remember. Yes, because under that same regime, you had a situation where a senator was sentenced to imprisonment, but that senator is serving his imprisonment in the Senate chambers as we speak. It was under that regime.
A high-ranking senator.
A high-ranking senator.
As it stands.
Yes. Now, you have a situation where several cases of high-level corruption till today are unsolved. I mean, we had a chief of army staff who had a serious case that, I mean, looking at it, well, we're not lawyers, we're not the FCC personnel, but from all the information that was put in the public space, there was no way such a person could have gone unscathed, but he did. In fact, in order to protect the person, he was also made an ambassador right immediately after his tour of duty as chief of army staff, and so many cases like that. We are still talking, even in recent times, the case of his attorney general has also been making the headlines. And so, if you look at all of this, I do not mean to, I'm not demonizing President Buhari, but we must talk in averages. I mean, before you say somebody has passed, he probably has done 50 over 100.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And even the 50 over 100, we know it's a weak pass.
Yes.
Aha. So it means it's just let my people go. You just manage to cross. No, so if we have situations where, for example, even the figure of out of school children
rose
astronomically.
And funny enough, Dio,
let me just please, viewers, please call in now. You also have opportunities to call 00299383365 is the number. If that's too fast, I'll do it slowly because Michael is signaling that. So it's 08029938365. Let's hear you. Oh, someone is here already.
Okay.
But please don't lose the train of your thoughts.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello. Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I want
All right, thank you.
You know that any day you are not on screen, I'm disturbed.
Oh, really? Oh, really? Thanks. That's some compliment, and I really don't take it for granted. Thank you. Thank you very much.
If it's of me, I wish that this program would be a daily program.
All right, it's a daily program, and you will see that shortly. Maybe from next week to be clear.
At times you represent yourself with so other activities.
Okay. Well, truly.
Well, however, Captain TV, teach me now. There's what you say, Captain TV.
Imagine a beautiful world.
Thank you. I wish all of you a happy burial of Buhari.
All right.
But thank God for the topic. Like my brother there, it seems that the guy is still young. Why all this is happening? Because it is in his regime that we learn repentant Boko Haram. It is in his regime. During the time of Goodluck, fuel was 75 naira. Why Goodluck put it 80 naira, Nigeria went on strike and he brought it back to 80 naira. But why he came, his fuel went to 250 naira. That gave the present government the privilege to take it 1,000 something. It is his regime that an NPC closed. I want to remind the Kaite, yes, it's just like what he was saying. Before, nobody can have 0 over 100 in exam. Either you have 10 or 20 or 30, but it's not pass. No matter what happened, Buhari failed Nigeria from his promises. He just wanted to answer president. He didn't come to become president having Nigeria at heart to restore or to rebuild Nigeria. He just came to frustrate Nigeria. What was dollar before he came? And why is leaving Nigeria? What was the dollar and naira? Well, let me stop here.
All right. Just before you stop, Nigerians are saying you didn't tell us your name and where you're calling from. Even if I know the voice, but Nigerians would like to know.
I feel you're supposed to have known me.
Yes. I may know. I know, but Nigerians.
I am Pastor
from
Washington.
Right.
Sorry, Dayo, let me quickly react to Pastor's opinion. You know, he said something which it's, for me, it's, I wouldn't say it is his own opinion. He said Buhari actually came to frustrate Nigeria. Like I have always said, I don't think there's anybody coming, any president that comes with the mindset of I'm going to frustrate my people, I'm going to frustrate my country. I don't think anybody can have that kind of mindset. Some of them often present to us lofty promises, but I think sometimes, most times, talking is very cheap. I think by the time they get there, they get swallowed up because Nigeria itself is a problem. Like I've always said, I don't envy any president of Nigeria because it is not easy the way we are, our mannerism, our behavior. It is not easy for you to lead Nigerians. I think most times, you know, the level of corruption in Nigeria has permeated into even our own smaller families, smaller circles. So most times these people with this lofty mindsets, they come into office with, most times they get swallowed up by the people, if you like,
around
they get
bewitched. Let's take this.
That's what I'm trying to correct, that impression that he just came to wicked Nigeria. I don't think so.
Yeah, so I agree with you. Sometimes people get swallowed up, they get bewitched. But you also would say that such people, because you see, for me, you know your capacity.
And your abilities.
Yeah. So if you force yourself through all the campaign thing and you have limited capacity, I do not think we should suffer you gladly when you fail? Because you should have known from the beginning that you have little or no capacity to deal with
I will agree with you on that, because I feel he was, forgive my language also, I will always say this, I feel he was not prepared. He only wanted, just like our guest said, to be called the head of state. And president, that's what I feel. Now, you talked about frustration. I felt it came to frustrate us. And a clear example of that was the Naira design team, whereby you use 2,000 Naira to buy 10,000 Naira.
Oh,
if you do not call that frustration, I wonder what we need to call it.
So that's we began to buy money.
We now needed our money to buy our money. And that was the first time I saw the coordinating minister of the economy not in tune with the central bank governor. They were just two different parallel lines speaking different things and getting us more confused and frustrated. That's the honest truth.
And more miserable.
And more miserable. So he left us lying down on the ground when he met us sitting on the chair.
Wow. Don't I like that? I think that could be the punchline for the link. He met us, he left us lying on the ground, prostrate.
Yes.
Maybe, I just added prostrate.
Oh, okay. Well,
hello.
Hello, good evening.
You're welcome.
Yes, good evening.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. My name is Yakubu Chocho. I'm calling from Plateau State.
Don't I like your name? Guam Yakubu Chocho.
Yes,
Go on, please.
Thank you, my brother. Yes, President Buhari was, let me say, a disciplined military man. But in civilian, he became the worst president ever produced in Nigeria, because he has condoned criminality, corruption, and otherwise. How can you, as a leader, you remove good law because of Boko Haram killings here and there and so on? But during your time, we expected by the design of your role as a military officer, I expected that you will make due position that these criminals, wherever they are hiding in Nigeria, be crushed. But the same president, after this Boko Haram has been arrested, and they now say, okay, let's give them a forgiving heart, and you now invite them back into the military. Why should our military receive such criminals and become soldiers to guide Nigeria? Can they do this faithfully? Because that is his own leadership. It means there is a sinister, inside of him. Two, at the time he came as military head of state, you remember he changed the Naira. He changed the Nigerian currency, where he inflicted pain in families, killings, and so on. Yeah. He has changed so many businesses in Nigeria by that design. And the same style, while as president, he now changed the style of, he trying to change the currency, the Naira and so on, devaluing it. You see, the concept he brought in was not healthy for Nigeria. If only you have removed somebody because of killings, there is crisis here and there. But as a military president, we thought he would do magic.
All right, Chocho, I guess we need to leave it here so other Nigerians cannot know what they say. Okay, thirdly, in a minute, in 30 seconds.
It's
yes.
okay. I appreciate your concern, what you are doing. I wish that you continue to do it well as we watch you do justice to Nigeria and let Nigerians grow and grow stronger than ever before. God bless you and thank you.
All right, Chocho. All right, Chocho. Please do call again next time. I like your name. Just like Awusko. I have somebody Awusko from Kaduna. Maybe he's trying to call in right now, even as we speak. Okay, let's take this. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hello,
Yes, you're welcome.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
I have your mood. I'm calling from.
You're calling from
I'm
where?
calling from
I didn't get your name. I didn't get your name. Okay, guess what? I guess your TV set is too loud and you're too close to.
Yeah. Would you just walk away from where your TV set is?
Let me repeat these guidelines like I used to do. Please, to call in, ensure that you're not too close to your set and ensure that the volume of your set is not too high. And as much as possible, it would be nice also if you could put down your thoughts on paper so you don't have to ramble, and then so you can communicate effectively. The world is listening to you. Let's take this. Hello?
Hello, good evening, Mr.
You're welcome.
My name is Muhammad calling from Abuja.
You're welcome, Mr. Mohammed.
Yeah, based on the topic you are saying, I'm not in position to judge him. But the only thing I would just say is that, as the other caller said, when he was a military man, he behaved like a real man. But you see, the problem that we have in Nigeria, that he personally tried to as a civilian president, is that he was pushed by people, not that he really wants the crowd to come and do it. You see, there are three names that doesn't belong to any human being. Pure, faith, holy. Those names belong to God. When you see yourself, people are calling you that, you are a failure already. When he came as a civilian president, he failed woefully, to be sincere. But now, as it is now, maybe based on what is in constitution, what they did for him today, I think that's a waste of money. Because those money spent today will have even helped many Nigerians to solve their problems, to live a good life, to bring them to. Now look at those numbers of millions of people out there. Look at the numbers of flights go to that place now. Look at the numbers of amount of money that we spend there. If you change numbers, I mean, the last fall of a lot of Nigerians. That's things I cannot say, but I have nothing to say about it. They go for living. God bless Nigeria. God bless us.
Thank you, Mr. Mohammed. Thank you very much. Yeah, so we can go on and on and on. Michael, you were...
Yes, I would rather want to take what he said and continue from there. He talked about doing a lot when he was a military head of state rather than when he was a civilian president, because of the issues of not just the rule of law, our constitution, and how he feels that he cannot take decisions without recourse from the National Assembly, both from the red chambers and the green chambers. But if you also take your mind to the first tenure from 2015, when he was the president from 2015 till after the elections, we had a Senate president, Bukola Saraki, that was totally against some of his policies and gave him much of a restriction, especially as it concerns some of the policies he had. And many felt that's why he did not perform in his first tenure. But now, coming back to his second tenure, when we had Lawan there, who many felt was more like a rubber stamp. I would also apologize for that. What was he able to do? He did even more during his first tenure than his second tenure. And he talked about being a military general. Yes, as a military general, we felt you'd be in position to deal with the issues. But was he able to deal with the issues? He had ministers that were there, they were doing nothing. You made mention of Japa syndrome. We had a minister of labor telling Nigerians that we had so many doctors and could afford to make some go away from the shores of this country.
Wow.
What a statement.
What a statement.
We had ministers that were deep-rooted in corruption, and nothing was said. We had Minister of Defense that was basically just there, getting many Nigerians killed. Insecurity even crept into Abuja. We saw that. That was the first time we had a convoy of the president being attacked when he was leaving, going to his state in Katsina. On the lucky thing we had about it, that he was not in the vehicle. Have we ever experienced such? So when you say he was a military general, we expected a military general to put his feet on the ground and deal with the persons that were walking around him. But what he did was let them be. He was not able to control them, to guide them. That's why I have no love lost with Buhari. He was a man of integrity, but the people that worked with him, he was unable.
I do not understand that. I do not understand how you can be a man of integrity and be surrounded by scoundrels.
I think let me quickly react to what he just said too, and then the last caller. Like what the last caller said, I think from history, like he said, President Muhammadu Buhari performed. He was okay as the military head of state then, but when he came in, in 2015. Nigerians felt it was a different thing. We met a different man compared to the man we had known. I think where I had problems with him was that one of the issues Buhari had was that he had health challenges. And then the people around him now took advantage of that scenario and hijacked, because at a point, it was as if Buhari was not even aware of what was happening in Nigeria.
No, he said it.
But where I had issues, where I have my own reservations, was that at that point, he shouldn't even have come for the second term. Because, mind you, when he came, he was in his 70s. You can't compare a man of 70s to then when he was in his 40s.
Yeah.
But he should have just told himself the truth, because the people, like somebody mentioned,
You mentioned,
it's as
you
if
know your capacity.
he was pushed. At that point, he was pushed, and then coupled with age, he lost virtually everything. He was not in a position to take some decisions himself. But you know, Nigerians, African leaders, like what I said, where I had reservations was that at that point, he should have like, I'm not coming back for the second time.
Hello? Hello?
Hello, sir.
Yes, you're welcome.
That's counterfeit.
Correct, yes.
This is Pastor Adekunle Joshua.
All right.
I want to contribute to your matter.
Where are you calling from, sir?
I'm calling from Ogun State.
All right, then, go ahead.
Concerning Buhari, let me try to understand me better. All the people they are talking about Buhari. Look about Jonathan, the time of Jonathan. He cannot pay any teacher. Let us think. The thing we are eating, we are talking about. That time, Nigeria hot. They cannot pay salary for 6 months, 1 year. The man came not because of Boko Haram. Boko Haram don't enter territory of Abuja. Listen, they don't enter territory of Abuja. When the man comes, he sits there away from Abuja to Bush. Let us think very well. There is something that I wanted to understand. Not by you cannot control this thing, you make it before it will increase, all those things. No, he cannot pay. That's why make the petrol increase. They can use their money to pay salary. And let us talk about today's government that is very worst. You are talking about Buhari. Buhari don't go now. Talk about today's president, our president, that make everything very hard. Buhari will still better than this today own. I get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I get what I'm saying.
Yes.
Buhari try now to make everything to possible. I don't blame Buhari for the scarcity of the money. All our people just they do that kind of thing for their benefit for themselves. Like the governor of CBN.
All right.
I'm telling you reality.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Sir.
Thank you very much. But the point that we must remember is that the leader takes both the credit when there's credit, and he must take the condemnation when there's condemnation.
Yeah.
They say everything rises and falls on leadership. There's an aspect I would like to even take a look at once again. You found out that under the Buhari regime, very important decisions were taken from the what's this word now? From the angle of how it favored a certain tribe in this country. That's why you kept having Ruga being introduced and reintroduced and trying to be forced down the throats of Nigerians. That's why clearly, while modern day breeding of livestock is done, stationary. Yet, because certain people are involved, you would rather have that age very out of date and very unprofitable archaic method to continue. To the point where his spokesman once said to people, "That is it not better?" And I'm talking about additional. That is it not better for you to lose your land than to lose your life? lands that they were born into, lands that were their heritage, lands that they had come to know and lived on for ages, and say, I mean, that was so flippant, that was so unfortunate, and it has gone down. I'm sure people will remember that of Additional for so long. But under whose regime did that happen? It's the same Buhari. Because sometimes, even if your aide does something that you feel is not right with you, does not sit well with you,
you call him to order.
You could call him to order, and publicly so that people know, no, this is not what we're doing. So I think that a whole lot went wrong. For example, why on earth did the Almajiri schools not continue under his regime? What? Please, somebody explain to me. That
you lofty idea on that.
Fantastic idea. That would have taken at least maybe 50% of the current street urchins from the street, and you abandoned it because, as far as you are concerned, maybe that was a PDP program. We need to begin to look beyond party and begin to look more of the national blessings that these programs bring, and this is very critical. Hello.
Hello, sorry, sir. It's Muhammad again. I'm very sorry. I just tried to contribute to respond to what one of your that woman said.
This time it will be shorter. 30 seconds,
yes,
can we?
I won't take long time, sir. If you are talking about age, sir, the age, about that in age, how did he? About that perform in the little way he can perform. The problem we have inside, the man in question zone as the civilian president is not ready. One. Number two, the cabal, the people around him, starting from the Attorney General to the IG to the whatever, they are not there. They are there for them because they see his lapses, it's not fit.
Thank you, Muhammad. So, see, I think in all of this, I think that we must as leaders, because more leaders, I mean, somebody was saying, the person before this, the person from Ogun State, said we need to, there's no need to talk about Buhari because he's gone. The essence of talking about these issues is to also chart the path forward.
Yes.
Chart a proper way forward.
For the present and
for the present and incoming governments. So it's very, very important. You cannot,
you know what? One problem we have in Nigeria is that, like, then in 2015, before 2015, we felt Jonathan was the worst. And what baffled us again was when Buhari came, life was harder for Nigerians, and then more difficult. And then the incumbents came, and then somebody even said it, that I've heard scenarios where people say, some persons will say life was even better during Buhari's time. So it's time for our leaders to begin to learn. For me, I think from history, Buhari had the privilege of serving his country, Nigeria, from the age of 19 to the point where he became the military head of state, and then he came in 2015 as the president. He has actually contributed his quota. So for the judgment, for me, I will leave it for history and then to individuals to decide whether what he did was good or not. But what I know was that he served the country in his own capacity.
Well, you might really have your own opinion on that, and many Nigerians will totally disagree with you, especially as it concerns what we trusted him to come to do when many Nigerians overwhelmingly voted him into power. Yes, we understood that he tried to be president 4 times, but was only rebranded and resold to Nigerians by the present administration. They rebranded and sold him to us and gave us the make-believe that things will change. But did they change? Just like he said, many issues as it concerns not just the economy, but also the rule of law and many other things. How did it really fare under President Muhammadu Buhari? It's a question that will be on the lips of many Nigerians for many years to come. And that's the honest truth. Whether you love it or not, whether you believe it or not, many will also agree that President Buhari, just like you said, had his good side, but the question still remains.
Maybe
Nigerian fare better under his reign?
All right, and this is going to be the size of the program. We've run out of time, and it's good night from me, Dayo Omogun. Enjoy the rest of your night. Yeah.
Well, anyway, it is me, Michael Gobadia. I'll say you have a good night rest.
Ikaiti is my name. Bye for now.
And as we say at Kaftan TV,
Imagine
imagine a beautiful world.